Hi, my name is Mike Quinn, and this is the Ultimate Frontline Leadership Training Podcast. Today we're going to go over a little tool I created to eliminate favoritism and blind spots when rating employees. The reason why we rate them is so that we can have a non-biased way of seeing their strengths and weaknesses and keep track of employee performances and pay raises, etc. Now, as a manager, you will get rated about every month or every quarter by your district manager, your regional manager. Some supervisor is going to come into your unit and is going to score you on all kinds of cleanliness, sanitation, service performances, etc. And they're going to give you the score at the end of their visit. And you're going to have some areas that you're going to have to work on. Well, wouldn't it be nice to know this stuff ahead of time before the boss comes in and tells you where you need to focus some attention? So this is why I came up with the self-scoring method, so that we can figure out, where our strengths and weaknesses are before the district or regional manager came in to rate us, and we could work on these things and work on perfecting our scores before they came in and judged us. And we would generally see our scores increase all the time because we knew where we stood and we knew what we had to fix, and we worked on fixing it all the time. Now, if your company has a certain set of standards that they constantly look at, like key result areas or some other things labeled like that, those are the areas that you're going to want to focus on rating your employees on. And I found when I used the same rating categories as my district manager did, the scores that I got and the scores that he got were really similar. They were very, very close, making up for little differences on what happened that particular day. But usually the scores were right in line with what the scores that we were getting. So this is a great tool for you to have. And it's going to help you understand who your staff is, what their strengths and weaknesses are, where you can focus on, improving things, and it's going to help you know that when the district manager comes in, you're already going to know what your score is before they even hit the floor. So it's a nice, reassuring way of knowing, that you're focusing on what you need to focus on, and you're getting things done. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to focus on the computer here, and I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that I made that lists all the employees, the key result areas that they're being judged on, and the scoring performances. So let me show you that here right now. All right, so here is a spreadsheet that I just created really quickly to show you exactly how to set it up. On the left-hand side, I put all the employees' names. And across the top here, I put the key result areas that they're being graded on, or the ones that I'm going to be graded on when the district manager comes into my unit and starts giving me an audit. I also put the score over here on the left next to the names, because I found that, when you put the scores next to the names, you don't have to look way over here and try to figure out which one of these numbers corresponded to which name over here. When it's right next to the names, it's pretty obvious what their score is. You can also do things like, you can change the font size and do all kinds of different crazy stuff as well. But for this purpose, and just to keep this really short, I'm going to keep it basic. So the key result areas up here on the top were timeliness, uniform, side work, cleanliness, teamwork, smiling, pre-bussing, walking around the restaurant with empty hands, etc. And everything is either a 1 or a 0. They either do this thing or they don't. And so that's going to give them a score. And since I have 10 of these things up here, it's going to be a score out of 10. So I rate them as to either they are timely, they do come to work on time, or they don't. They do have a nice uniform on and remember their name tag and all that type of stuff, or they don't. So it's either a 1 or a 0. And these scores can change depending on an employee's attitude that month as well. These scores can be revised at any time. Now, one great way or one great reason that I put the employees on the left and the items that they're being rated on the top is because now I can sort this spreadsheet. So if I want to see, okay, who needs to work on uniforms here, I can go up here and I can sort that, and I can go, oh, good, look, Jack seems to be the only one who needs to really work on his uniform. So I need to go inspect Jack every time he comes in the door. I need to make sure that their uniform is together, or we're going to have a little conversation. I can also do, say, teamwork. Who are my great teamwork people? Here we've got Marty is a great teamwork. Oh, I'm sorry. Marty is the only one who doesn't show teamwork. And I can even sort descending, so I can have all my good people on the top and all the lower ones on the bottom. And you always want to focus on improving your bottom 5%. Okay, the people who are scoring in the bottom 5%, you really want to work on them and raising that up there, because that bottom 5% is going to drag you down more than the other 95%. So really working on these guys in these areas is also going to help improve morale as well, because everybody else on the team knows who's lagging and who's not, and so they're going to have to be pulling up for the extra work that say Marty is not doing on teamwork. Everybody else is pulling up for it. Marty's probably just sitting back and on his phone or doing some other things, and he's not really worried about anybody else. And this is going to create a lot of resentment banks in all these people about Marty. So we want to take care of this before all of these attitudes get really bad, and then I have to start dealing with all the poor attitudes around the restaurant. Okay, now that we have that down, you're going to notice there's also, you're going to have different employee categories. Okay, you're going to have hosts and servers and cooks and dishwashers and expos and bartenders. You know, in your hotel, you may have housekeepers and cooks and hosts and all kinds of different things in whatever is pertaining to your particular industry. This one I did. I had the staff's names along the top, and I put the categories along the side, and then I went to go sort it to see who my best, who needs work on attendance. And guess what? You can't sort it this way. All right, you really need to have the names on the side and the categories along the top, and that way you can have your scores right over here, and you can sort it any way you want and get a good representation of who needs to work on what. I would also, once I got done categorizing everything and scoring everybody, I gave this to other managers as well to make sure that I didn't have any blind spots or I wasn't favoriting some employees. So I would give it to somebody else to double check, and they would either agree or not agree on maybe a thing here or two, and then once we had the scores dialed in, then we would go to work on fixing employees' performance. Okay, so that should explain what we've got going on here as far as rating your employees. Doing this in ones and zeros really removes, and having the names off to the top, it removes a lot of the favoritism things you might be saying. Either the person does this or they don't, and you really have to sit down and ask yourself, does this person do it or not? Sometimes they're right on the fence, sometimes they pre-bus, sometimes they don't, and if that's the case, and I would usually give them a 0. If there was an area where they were kind of doing pretty good, but I really wanted to get it better, and where they weren't doing it as well as other people, I would make that a 0. The employees might want to give me some pushback on some of these numbers here, but I would have to, explain to them that, hey, compared to, some of these other people, you don't pre-bus as much as they do. And, I've been over to your tables many times and seen, after the table is left, they still have all their plates in front of them, which is a huge no-no. You want them to sign their check and leave a tip when there's nothing on the table. Because if they're cramped trying to write, they're trying to sign their credit card statement and they're trying to find a clean space on the table to leave you a tip, that tip's not going to be very big. But if they're comfortable, they're relaxed, they feel, they've been served very well, they've had all their food, they've had a great time, and the table is nice and clean, and now they're just sitting and relaxing, they're going to give you a better tip. So these things, this is a great tool to help your team make more money. So again, this is a great little tool. If you know how to make a spreadsheet, it's very simple to put together. If you don't know how to make a spreadsheet, learn. It's a tool that I've used many different times in many different facets of business that helps me analyze and understand what's happening in my unit and how can I help better. Trying to have all this information in your head floating around and trying to keep it organized, and it just, there's just so much going on in that head. It's very hard to do. But if you look at your spreadsheet, it's all laid out in black and white right in front of you, and it's hard to argue with it. So do yourself a favor and grab yourself a spreadsheet, put the employees' names all down on the left, and then put the categories along the top and score them 1 in those, and then keep track of who's doing great, and if they improve in those areas, all of a sudden the numbers change and their scores improve, etc. When it's time to turn around and give pay raises or promotions, you have a good way to justify it. You have solid numbers, which everybody can agree on because you've passed it around and everybody's agreed these are the numbers of that person. Then, you can justify the actions you're going to take with your employees. All right. Well, I hope this helps you out. If not, give me some comments in down below, and I can look back and help maybe answer some questions you might have. All right. Take care.